Hey guys, welcome to 3 Mississippi. I'm Mike, and I'm here to tell you today, while you may think you're good at multitasking, you're not. In fact, you actually suck at it. You might not agree, but stick around. I'm going to explain what I mean, and I bet you we can see eye to eye on this. All right, guys, what is multitasking, right? It's a word we use all the time. I've even seen this on job descriptions, like you're applying for a job, must have the ability to multitask. What is multitasking compared to, say, managing competing priorities? What is monotasking? What is switch tasking? What is it that we're doing every day that's making us less efficient? And what could we be doing to actually make ourselves more efficient? Look, it doesn't matter if we're talking about your day job. Maybe you've got a desk job, right? You sit there and answer phones all day. Maybe you're a 911 operator, or flip that over to the other side. Maybe you're a firefighter or a first responder, police officer. Maybe you work in a restaurant environment, right? With all kinds of orders coming and going and different tables with different people. Regardless of what your job is, I can assure you that you are not multitasking when you think you're multitasking. What you're actually doing is switch tasking, and you're costing yourself time. You're being inefficient by doing what you think is making you more efficient. And we're going to talk about this, and I'm going to explain what I mean by it. I'm actually multitasking right now. While I'm shooting this video, I've got this this project here that's been needing to happen forever. I've been putting it off and putting it off. I got a pressure washer here that needs a pump replaced. And I'm telling you, when they build these things, I don't think they ever think about actually somebody's going to have to get in here and get a wrench on that nut, because it's buried in there. I'm gonna try to push it down with this wrench onto it. I just need to get it to hold it. That didn't work. We're gonna try something else here. I really don't want to have to take this thing all the way apart in order to get to that little nut right there. But anyway, I forget what I was talking about. Oh yeah, you know why? Because the brain can only focus on one thing at a time, guys. It is impossible for our brain to cognitively focus on two things at the same time. It can't be done. Now, when the term multitasking first came out, you know what? I bet you if I removed just that guard right there, I'd have a lot more room. When the term multitasking first came out, they were actually talking about computers. And some computers actually can multitask because they have multi-core processors. Our single core processor up here cannot focus on two things at once. And you're like, oh, you're crazy, man. I can practice a speech that I've got at work while I'm washing my hair. Okay. Understand that I'm talking about things that actually require your brain to think about. So you've washed your hair 100 million times in your life. You don't have to put much thought into washing your hair. And frankly, who's gonna know if you do a good job or a bad job? If you make a mistake, all right? If you miss a spot. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, you can, oh man, that's on there good. You can definitely focus on, washing your hair very little. You get your hands moving up there while you're working on that, whatever speech it is we're talking about. But what you can't do is you can't have, be listening to this person explaining something to you that's complicated, okay, that you have to focus on, and at the same time be writing an email to this person that you have to focus on and explain something to them. That cannot be done. It just can't. So, you know, and when people talk about multitasking, that's the type of thing a lot of times that they're talking about is simple things that don't really take much brain power. You can, you know, you could mix a cake, you know, get all the batter mixed together and put it in a pan and throw it in the oven. And then while that cake is cooking in the oven, you can work on something else. You can be prepping, you know, the salad or, you know, whatever for dinner tonight. That's the dessert. It's sitting in the oven now and you're working on something else. I don't think I meant to take that whole thing out of there. I meant to just take that screw or that nut off of the end of it. I don't know what's about to happen. Wow, is that a different size? But yeah, it looks like I'm taking the whole muffler off here. Oops. Oh, this one I just took the, see, that's all I was shooting for right there. So now I can get in there and get on. Come on out of there. Get on that bad boy right there. I just need to be able to hold that still while I try to get the nut off the bottom. Whoo! Boy, they buried that for sure. You know, those of y'all that think you have a job that requires or that allows for you to be more productive by multitasking, I just don't think you do. And for those of y'all that don't know, I'm sitting out here in the shop tinkering right now. Let me explain a little bit about who I am to you. I'm not saying I'm an authority on this subject, but I kind of am. So by day, my day job, 10 hours a day at least on average, I'm a project manager and I manage low voltage integrations. Okay, so it's all commercial and you know, we don't do any residential work, but you know, we do name your low voltage infrastructure in a building, right? From your network cabling to your intrusion, process monitoring, access control, you know, fire life safety. So we install these, and then we also have a side of our company that services them beyond install, right? And I actually oversee both the installation and the service departments, kind of, you know, pretty much all of the field operations. My title is project manager, but I have, you know, other project managers that work for me and field supervisors and service supervisors, and then technicians in the service side and technicians or installers on the install side. At any given time during the day, I might be in the process of managing, you know, on average I have about 60 projects going on. And of those 60 projects, not 60 of them do I have people on today, okay? Of those 60 projects, some of them are recently approved. We haven't ordered parts yet. We're waiting on a deposit, whatever. Some of them, parts are on order. We've had a few communications. We're not ready to kick them off yet. Some of them we're almost done. We're waiting on, you know, some outside dependency from the end user before we can go back and, you know, connect them to the network and commission them. And then there's a core number of projects that we're actively working on right now. We've got a crew over here that's doing pre-wire, and we've got, you know, this project, we finished pre-wiring it. Now we're waiting on somebody to come in and hang doors so that we can come in and drop wire down and connect. We got these projects over here where, you know, we're installing the head end. This over here, you know, we're going back today to do training with the end user. This over here, we've got a subcontractor coming in to do some trenching, and we got somebody out managing that. We got to lay some pipe in there. And this one over here, we got some poles going in. Maybe we got a subcontractor that we're coordinating with that's going to do the concrete work. Then we've got to launch, you know, maybe some some solar and some CCTV on there. We have a lot of different projects going on at any given time. And throughout the course of a regular 10-hour day, you know, I'm responding to, I mean, both my phones are ringing. My desk phone and my cell phone are ringing constantly. And I literally am trying to get off of this call so that I can answer this call. And, you know, I try really hard to never not answer. That's one of my weaknesses, actually. Phone's ringing and I'm in the middle of something else, you know, hey, you know, acknowledge who they are, and, you know, I'm in the middle of a meeting, can I call you back? Sure. Write their name on a sticky note and stick it in front of me to remember to call them back. That's not multitasking, that's switch tasking. And, you know, the mistake that you can make, the mistake that we all make, that you want to try not to make, is when that email comes in and it looks like it's important, you want to switch what you're doing and go work on that. Well, right now I'm in the middle of working on something for accounting. I've got a situation I'm trying to resolve having to do with, you know, something for invoicing for the end of the month. You know, you know, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And meanwhile, and this needs to get done like ASAP, right? Because, you know, if you don't invoice, then money doesn't come in. Meanwhile, an email comes in and I want to switch my focus to that email and read it and consume whatever that is to find out if that's something that I need to retask my brain to work on. And as I'm reading it, my phone rings, and you see where this is going, right? When we're switching our brain from task to task like that, we are becoming extremely inefficient. And some of you guys are going to disagree with me. You think that you're more efficient by doing this, but I promise you, you are not, okay? You are not more efficient when you're doing this. I cannot for the life of me figure out how to get that nut that's way back in there out of there. Oh, that's the wrong direction right there. Righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. You got to get on that thing from the other way. Okay. All right, we're getting somewhere. It's gonna be real slow. I get about that much of a turn and I gotta go back. What was I talking about? I was talking about, yeah, switching from task to task. So when you're switching from task to task, you are not being efficient, okay? You're not really able to give multiple tasks at the same time your full brain, okay? Or enough of your brain to even really focus on that task and get it completed. So now what happens is you find that you have multiple tasks essentially open, right? In your not necessarily just your desktop, but in your mind's desktop, okay? And you know, you might find come toward, you know, near the end of the day, you know, you've handled a bunch of emergencies, okay? You've handled some stuff, that's good for you. But that schedule of values that you were trying to complete for accounting so that they could get the invoicing out to, you know, the contractor still hasn't happened. Man, you started on that at 9 o'clock this morning, and it was a 30 or 40 minute task. And you've come back and you've worked on it, you know, 4 different times, and you've switched your brains. I'm so proud of myself for getting that nut out right there. That's crazy. It was buried. You've switched your brain's cognitive focus so many times throughout the day that a 40-minute task, start to finish, probably took you 60, 70 minutes, right? If you were able to go back and count the time that you spent on it, because you know, you actually lose time when you change your focus from this to this. Your brain has to spin down from this and spin up onto this, okay? And you're just not as efficient. You just never can be. You can't learn to be. Your brain doesn't work that way, okay? So what you have to do is, and this doesn't only apply to the fast-paced, you know, world of project management. This applies to just a homeowner. Like, okay, let me talk about some of the things outside of my project management world, my day job. You know, in the house, I have a light in the hallway that doesn't work. I've gotten as far as verifying that no matter which switch I flip, I don't get tone. I don't have power at that light outlet. Now, that light has not worked since we bought this place 2 years ago. I believe there are 2 switches that are supposed to operate it, which means that they're 3-way switches. I'm going to need to go to each of those switches, take the plate off, figure out how they're wired. Are they in fact 3-way switches? There's probably a loose connection somewhere. I don't know where. This is going to be a couple of hour task. Okay, I'm not an electrician. I know enough about it to be dangerous, but this is going to be a couple of hour task. Now, I have already spent time on this task. I've done some discovery. I've spent some time. Didn't have time to finish working on it at the time. In the garage, I have a light that doesn't work. It's a 4-foot shop light mounted to the ceiling with a couple of fluorescent bulbs, and I got so far in discovery as figuring out that the ballast is shot in it, and you know, the ballast is going to be like 35 bucks. So I found a whole nother new 4-foot shop light online that was like 35 bucks with new ballast built in. So I ordered that. That's as far as I got on that. I have these different projects in the house. And if you're a homeowner, you know, you're thinking about, you know, I need to clean this, I need to do that, I need to, you know, get up on a ladder and do the ceiling, clean the ceiling fans. You know, just all these little things. And, you know, as you see them, you stop thinking about what you were thinking about and you start thinking about them. Your brain spools down from where you were headed and starts spooling up on those ceiling fans. And you're like, man, which ladder? Okay, yeah, no, I've got a ladder. I've got that green ladder out there. It's like a 6-foot ladder. That'll get me up there. And before you know it, you might as well just do it now, right? Because you've just derailed yourself, right? Same thing with the farm. You know, if you're a person that owns property like us, and you've got animals out there, and you're raising food, and you know, you've got your meat chickens out there and tractors on the pasture, and then you've got your turkeys over here in the brooder that are about to go out, and you've got your Muscovy ducks. They just had babies. Mama abandoned the babies. Those babies got to be pulled in and now put in a brooder, and you need a plan for managing those. And then you've got your laying hens out there that you're managing, and which ones of those are broody, and which ones do you want to lay on eggs, and which ones, you know, you're trying to collect those eggs to eat them. And then you've got your geese, which I'm not sure why, but we do. And then you've got your goats over here. Meanwhile, you're trying to get a herd of sheep started for an actual, you know, business, and there's a bunch of fencing that has to be done. And then you got the horse over here, and a tree just fell on the fence in the horse pasture up against a creek. So that now has become a competing priority. It's like, okay, we don't want the horse getting out, so we got to go work on that fence. Meanwhile, I still have 7 trees in the front yard in buckets that I haven't planted, and it's going to get hot soon, and those trees are not going to handle transplant shock as well in the heat. I need to get them in the ground in the spring. So that's a priority. That needs to happen. Meanwhile, I just found out that we're about to get 3 days of rain, which means that I'm not going to be able to bush hog the back pasture for weeks unless I do it now. So all of a sudden, that has become a competing priority to whatever else I was working on. The chicken plucker. My wife is planning on processing like a dozen meat birds tomorrow. Okay, I broke the chicken plucker. I actually caught the cord with the tractor bucket and yanked the cord right out of the motor. So I had to stop what I was doing and focus on repairing the chicken plucker, because that is a necessity. It has to be ready for Friday. Today's Thursday. And then, you know, while I'm in a mechanical mood, I'm like, look, my wife's been complaining about pressure washing the front of the house for a while. Pressure washer runs like a top, the motor. First pull, it runs great. Pump doesn't work. So here I am now. There's all kinds of other stuff. Look, I got the trees that need to go in the ground. I got the bush hogging that needs to happen. I got the garden, a bunch of stuff that needs planted out in the garden. And frankly, I didn't get off work today until dark. Okay, it's like 8 o'clock at night right now. And I finally got off my day job. I can't go plant plants in the garden, and I don't really want to be digging holes in the dark. I could go out there with a flashlight, but so I'm working with those competing priorities, and I'm saying, well, what I can do is I can work on this in the shop. And that's the thing that you can do, is you can manage competing priorities, right? You can take that big old long list of things that need to happen. I've already ordered gravel for our driveway expansion, and I haven't finished all the tractor work that needs to happen. That gravel's coming on Monday. I said today's Thursday. So at some point over the next couple of days, that's gonna creep up in the competing priorities as, dude, get on the tractor and get this work done because this gravel's coming, right? Here in the shop, I have very little power. That box right there has a single breaker in it. It has the main breaker coming in, and then it has a single breaker below it. It's a 20 amp breaker, and there's no way that box is providing 20 amps. I mean, if I turn something on in here, probably if I turn this light off, you're gonna see those lights get bright. Oh, did you hear those fans turn on? I mean, the lights flicker when I turn that on. So, I got this whole project of, I bought a brand new 200 amp panel. I've got to frame out some walls in here up against the exterior walls, and I'm going to put a new 200 amp panel in, run new service to it from the pole, have dedicated service in here. This shop is part of my business, so it's nice to have its own service. And then run Romex through all these walls, put new plugs in. I mean, it's a big old project, right? When am I going to work on that? I have no idea. But the reality is, I have to, I got to plan it. I got to come up with a plan for what we're going to do. I got to order the materials, get the materials in here. I'm going to need 80 studs and, a bunch of Romex and whatnot. Then I have to figure out how to manage the task of when I'm going to work on it, right? And instead of multitasking, look, I can't be framing in here and planting trees at the same time. Now, let me ask you this. Would it make sense for me to plant one tree in the front yard, then come in here and frame up a section of wall and stand it up, then go back out there and plant one tree, then go out to the garden and put out a set of tomatoes that I've got ready to go out, then jump on the tractor and go out and bush hog, say just a half acre, okay? Then come back over and plant another tree, right? Some might say that's not multitasking. That's just being stupid, okay? Multitasking is when a computer with multiple processors can be solving this problem and this problem at the exact same time. That's multitasking, and you cannot do that, and neither can I, okay? We have to learn to monotask. We have to learn to turn our notifications on that email off so that we don't even see that email come in. When we're focused on this 40-minute task, okay, we've got to be able to finish it. 40 minutes is a long time. You might be able to work on it for, say 20 minutes, focused hard. Hit the pause button on what you're doing, minimize that screen, and open up your email and see if anything important came in the last 20 minutes. 20 minutes is not too long, guys, to ignore your email, okay? 15 to 20 minutes is not too long to ignore your emails. It's not too long. Look, like I said, I don't like not answering the phone and at least saying, I'll call you back. But there are times that you have to do that. You got to push that do not disturb button on the desk phone, and you got to turn the ringer off on your cell phone, and maybe if it buzzes, you glance at it to see who it is, but you probably shouldn't even do that. You got to focus, monotask on the one thing you're doing for 15 minutes, for 20 minutes, finish it, boom, put it away, be efficient, and then go check your email. go ahead, you know, the light's blinking on my desk phone now. I got 3 voicemails while I was doing that task. Let's check those voicemails. Let's find out if anything urgent came in. Let's check our emails. Let's see if anything urgent came in, okay? At this time right here, we're gonna choose our next task, okay? It would be nice if we could lay all of our tasks out in the morning and say, this is what I'm gonna do, in this order till I'm done. But, you know, in a lot of worlds, that's not possible. In project management, it's not possible. And whatever you do, it's probably not possible. You've got to now pick the next competing priority, and you've got to focus on that. But what you've got to do is you've got to learn to focus on the one thing and ignore everything else, okay? And be efficient at getting that one thing done, as long as it's a task that you can do in a reasonable amount of time. You know, oftentimes I will take 15-minute blocks, okay, throughout the day, and I will turn everything off. Nothing's getting through to me for these 15 minutes. And during that 15 minutes, all I'm doing is going through my emails and figuring out what I need to handle. Oh, that's an owner email. That's an important email. That's somebody that has hired us to do something, okay? I gotta get them an answer, okay? 15 minutes, all I'm doing is going through my emails and figuring out what's important that I need to get back to. And what can I push out, okay? And then you gotta have a plan for if you're gonna push something out, how are you gonna manage it? If you tell your boss who asks you a question about some policy that you guys are working on revising, and hey, you know, what do you think about this? And you know, when's your next department meeting so that you can discuss this with the crew? Look, frankly, that's not important enough right now. I mean, you never want to say your boss is not, you know, the owner of the company is not important, because he is, but that's not important enough right now when I'm dealing with some brush fires to take my focus, okay? So what you want to do is you just want a quick, you know what, let me get back to you on that by end of day. It might be 9 o'clock in the morning. I'll get back to you by end of day, okay? Now, when's end of day? You know, sometimes I might get back to them on that at like 7 o'clock tonight. But again, because I'm managing competing priorities and I'm trying to focus on a task. Now, I don't know how long it would have taken me, honestly, to replace the pump on this thing. I have no idea. If I had been able to focus on this, but I can tell you that there are 3 screws, three bolts that hold this pump on. Then the cover for the muffler was in the way, so I took that off. And honestly, it probably would have taken me, you know, maybe 7 or 8, 9 minutes to get this pump off, had I been focused on removing this pump. But because I was focused on what I was talking about, I don't know, I'm like 30 minutes into this conversation with you guys, and I still have not removed the 3 bolts that hold this pump on, all right? I did remove the change order, right, that we ran into, but the primary goal here of removing 3 bolts and dropping this pump off the bottom of this pressure washer is still not done like 30 or 40 minutes later, because the brain cannot multitask. It just can't. When I'm thinking, you know, seriously thinking about the words that I'm saying, and they're important and they matter. Well, I gotta take this off too. This hose is connected to the bottom of the pump. It's connected to the ankle bone. It's connected to the whatever bone, knee bone, connected to the hip bone. This thing's got 8 million threads on it. I don't know about this. Let's see here. Okay, so that's just pressed into there somehow. And it's in there. For sure. Little liquid wrench. Never hurt nobody. I mean, it's in there. There we go. All right, so we got our hose off. That's a little piece. Okay, so now we got to drop this pump, and it's not droppy. The pump slides up onto a shaft, and there's a key in there. So it's probably kind of a little bit, not a press fit, but probably a little bit of a tight fit. We're gonna get the spring bar in here and see if we can get it off. We sure there's not another bolt holding that thing? 1, 2, 3. That's it. 1, 2, 3. It's on there. It's on there. Wonder if this thing's gonna leak fuel if I lay it down. I don't see any fuel leaking yet. All right. Houston, we got a problem. We give it a little tappy, all right? Attitude adjuster here. So, probably doing this wrong. Well, guys, unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get this off of here as long as I'm multitasking. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna need to watch a YouTube video right now and figure out what I'm doing wrong and focus my attention on the task at hand so that I can be more efficient. This was not a typical video for me. A lot of times I'm out doing some tractor work or doing some gardening or whatever, hunting, fishing. But today, I was just really inspired to talk about multitasking and really about, about competing priorities and, the things that I've learned that have made me, in my opinion, more efficient. And I just felt like sharing them with you guys. I hope that they're useful to you. I was hoping that I was going to replace the pump on this thing while filming this video. The reality is, as simple as this task of replacing this pump probably is or should be, it's simply too complicated to do that and focus on important words and stringing this together hopefully staying somewhat focused. I may watch this back and say, wow, that was a lot of ums and uhs and who knows. But the reality is, it was actually a pretty good example of the human brain's inability to truly multitask. So there you have it, guys. Go out there, get some work done, get your task list, prioritize things, figure out what you're gonna work on, and figure out how to focus on it for at least some period of time. I'm not saying until it's done. I'm saying some period of time. Pick up at least a point that you're gonna get to and focus, and don't let anything distract you. Unless the goat gets out and is out in the garden eating your collards, then of course you gotta drop what you're doing and go focus on that. But life is not simple. Life is competing priorities. Life is competing priorities. The talent that you wanna really try to improve is learning how to stack those competing priorities and learning how to ignore things so that you can focus on things. And if you watched our channel, you know that I've got all kinds of projects going on all the time, and some people say I never finish a project, but that's not true. It is easy to look at all the projects that I have going on and say, man, I don't know how you're never gonna finish a project. But if you look back at our YouTube channel since we started it, I've probably completed more projects than most people maybe not all of them. There's somebody out there that's a machine, but the reality is I do get a lot done. I am still constantly frustrated by the fact that I didn't get enough done today. I got distracted by this and I didn't get this done. I got distracted by this when I was distracted by this, and I actually focused on 4 different things that I shouldn't have today, made me very inefficient. And you know, that's life, that's reality. It happens to all of us. Learn to recognize it. That's all I'm saying. Learn to recognize when you're being pulled off task, right? When you're switch tasking, that's the term they use. Learn to recognize when you're switch tasking and figure out if you can stop. Do it. Should I not even be focused on that? Should I ignore that? Should I pretend that doesn't exist? Should I light a match to it? No, don't do that. And stay focused on this thing. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you get the notifications when we post new videos or go live. And yeah, wish me luck with this pump here. Love you guys. Safety is off.